In that particular case, it's a neighborhood, one of policemen. They're very proud of their neighborhood. I mean, this guy was how can I say it?
The neighborhood menace.
Yes. So as soon as he comes out, he walks out in the whole neighborhood. It became a negotiation with the neighborhood not to kill this guy.
Hey, welcome back to Detective Story. I'm Mike Hammond. Thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it. We've got some great guests on today. We appreciate you coming in as always. Hey, please remember to subscribe if you haven't. Hit the download button. All of those things help us a lot with the algorithm, which helps us kind of start to finance and continue to bring these great guests on. These two particular guests are not charging me anything, which is fantastic. But we really appreciate that support. So please do that for us. Also, we got the Patreon page set up. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. You could join that for $5 a month now and have access to almost everything we have on there. And there's different tiers. So please give that a look. That's just Patreon Detective Story Mike Hammond. I'll have the link in this, but check us out there. So with that, let's get going. First of all, Chris is back. Survived pneumonia. Pneumonia didn't have a freaking chance.
Yeah.
Right?
Oof. Rather not have that again.
Yeah, man. But good for you. Powerlifting is going great. You qualified for nationals.
I did qualify for nationals May 15th down in San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio has no idea what's coming at them.
They sure don't. Outstanding, man. Good for you. I'm very happy for you, man. I'm excited. And two great guests. One of them you're going to recognize if you're a fan of the show, and the other's brand new on the show. But here we have Marco and Michele Garcia, the former Michele Wood. I still let you decide what that's going to be. Michelle's on one of our most popular podcasts that we did. A lot of great feedback from you guys. We had a lot of fun with Michele on. Today got her husband on. I worked with both in homicide, both great homicide detectives. We had a lot of fun working together, and I'm super excited to have you guys on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Mike. If you haven't seen that prior episode, go back and take a look at it for a little frame of reference. Yeah, it's a damn good episode.
It really is. It really is.
It was a lot of fun, and we'll have a lot of fun today.
That's right. So let's start where we start. First of all, the book. Michele has a book out. Autobiography called Model Detective, a true story of heels, handcuffs, and homicides. And this is it. I have read it. It's a lot of fun. It is a great insight into what life is like as homicide detective is in a place as busy as Chicago. And also a great kind of documentation of beyond just being a detective, the challenges of growing up as a young woman in Chicago and then kind of crawling and fighting your way to becoming a homicide detective, your dream. And it's all here. Great work.
Thank you. Yeah, and you say crawling, that is right. Like I tell people, some people do go straight to homicide, not many. But I'm like, I definitely didn't go straight to homicide. I started at the bottom, if you want to call it that, of investigations. And then I really did have to like crawl my way to homicide.
Yeah, so it's on Amazon. I'll have links to it in the show notes, but we're going to get into that book quite a bit here. And you are a supervisor in the detective division now, sergeant still,
yes.
right?
Yeah, I
Correct?
just went back to Area 3, which is kind of my home. I'm preparing for retirement, so went back to Area 3, and I'm finishing out some of my cases that I'm still working on, and we'll see when I leave,
What part of the city does Area 3 encompass?
It's the north side, basically. North side up into about like Division-ish, and then Lakefront-ish, and then Harlem-ish.
It's the north side, basically. A little bit of west, but mostly north.
Yeah, like mid-north.
Yeah. I mean, we cover all the areas on the north side. It's definitely not as busy. It's a lot different than Area 4, which I left in December. But as I look towards retirement, I don't want to jump off the cliff. I have to shimmy down the cliff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I hear that. And Marco, like, So, just real quickly for bona fides, we started working together when Area 4 closed. They moved me to Area North, they called it at the time. We've gone back to the numeric system, which it should have always been, in my opinion, but whatever. I'm a little bit crotchety old school. But and we were on the same team, and not to blow smoke at you, but you're certainly one of the most talented homicide detectives I work with. And at that time, you were pretty new, but hungry and active and really going after it. All of you both were, but that team was just really great. I had to do very little. I did do very little, actually, because you guys were all over it. So I'm excited to have you here. But now you've got a job that I think will fascinate people, and Chris cannot wait to get down the road of asking you, mainly as his goal is always mostly, how do I get away with this, or how do I get away with that? But you are a sergeant, but for all purposes, one of the supervising officers in the hostage negotiation team. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I've been there now for detective for 12 years, worked with Michelle, worked with you, and then after that I made sergeant. And out of the blue, I got a phone call. Said, hey, you fit this mold we're looking for. You want to be a supervisor and the chief hostage negotiator.
Had there been was there like some kind of testing or something for it?
At that point, all you needed to be was a supervisor and come from the detective division.
Yeah. Did someone put your name into the hat?
That's how it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
I was, initially I was supposed to go back to the detective division as a sergeant.
Of a homicide team.
I actually went out and picked my locker, got, a cool little sweater, and then things kind of stalled out for a little bit, and then I got a phone call and said, hey, how about this?
Yeah.
And it's funny, once you're a detective, you're kind of always a detective. It's kind of a hard cycle to get out of. And I was kind of hesitant to it, and now it's probably the best job I've had on the police department.
Fascinating.
Busy. I mean, and it's a true kind of 24-hour job, right? I mean, you it's very little. You get vacation, but I mean, that's one of the weird things about being a detective on Chicago Police Department. We have our shifts, and when you got an active case going on, you're basically like the first 48. It's actually like the first 72. You don't get much sleep. You got a lot going on. I mean, you're very, very busy. And you're not on call in the traditional sense as a homicide detective, but in a way you are, because if you got a witness that you've got a investigative alert on, you need to talk to, or you got a suspect that you're out there, you have a warrant for or whatever, and it gets picked up, it really doesn't matter if it's your day off or not, you get the call, right? So in that regard, you kind of are always alert to, you might get a call. Is that even more intense with the negotiators?
Yeah, so what I explained to people, when I was a detective, I went home with homework, right? My brain was always going. It never ends. Now it's, my homework is done when the case is done, but that phone goes off at all hours of the night. So I've been on call for 24/7 now for about 6 years. Surprisingly, your body kind of gets used to it.
So does mine.
And and I think I'm being very quiet, right? My phone goes off, email goes off, dogs are barking, and I'm turning on the police radio, trying to listen in to what's going on.
Are you kind of like, go handle that shit? Or
I hear it before he does, because he's got a special tone when an email comes in, and before they call him, he gets an email and it's like, dun-dun. I'm like, you got a job, and then a minute later he's like trying to be quiet, but he walks like you think I walk hard. He walks hard. He's like, grunk, grunk, grunk. And then he turns the radio on. And I don't care how low you put the radio. At 4:00 in the morning, the radio's like,
right.
And I'm like, okay, just turn the lights on at this point.
Right. Make coffee, right.
Yeah.
If I didn't mention, I think I did, Marco and Michelle are husband and wife, which is also another unique phenomenon here. But to put the car a little bit of the front of the horse there. But so I want to get deeper into the hostage negotiation, because I know a lot of our listeners are going to be, you just don't get the opportunity to hear that perspective very much. And I'll let Chris get his plans out however he needs to. With, I know you got plans to take hostages at some point.
Well, I mean, given the fight or flight instinct. There is no flight because I can't run. And, fighting seems like a lot of energy. That's really the best option I have is to take hostages.
Right.
Do you have anyone in mind?
What other exit is there?
Right. So you'll never have a better time right now for intelligence than as we sit at this table.
True story.
So, okay, let's go back to the book a little bit now. So I started going down this road a little bit. There's a lot of great stuff in here. You really put a lot of your personal stuff out there.
I did.
And that I want to get into that just a little bit, and just in terms of emotionally what that's like for you, because I'm interested in that myself. But also I do want to make the comment. I think you really did a nice job in here, and we were kind of getting to this earlier. Like we've had this conversation about how many murders we work on, right? And you get asked that question a lot. How many murders do you think you worked on in your career? And
Right.
it's so hard to come up with that number because the number could be 1,000. You know what I mean? In a 16-year career for me, and you guys you're 12. You've been detective
Almost 20, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's not to say we were lead detectives on all those murders.
Right.
You kind of, as a supervisor, it's even more kind of magnified, right? Because you're now supervising, so you have a team of say 10 detectives or whatever it is, who are you're going to have a hand in some way in all those murders, or at least you're going to know what's going on, right? Or you're
Right.
gonna be
Yeah.
on.
I mean, for the most part, over the last 5-ish years that I was a homicide sergeant Area 4, we averaged about 32-ish murders per team a year. So if you look at it that way, it's like, okay, so we were personally assigned to about 150 murders. But then as a team, when I was a homicide detective on the team, just because I wasn't the lead detective on that particular case doesn't mean it didn't affect me. I didn't work on it. I didn't have a lot to do with it. We talked before about one of the murders that we all worked on, and that's not even my case. It was about a little 7-year-old girl that was killed, and that case impacted me deeply. But I wasn't even the detective assigned to it. But, nonetheless, that's still my case.
Yeah,
so
right.
it depends. And numbers are, I can say 200 and I could say 1,000 because I've probably been, to 1,000 scenes. But I don't even know. It doesn't matter to us. I think it matters for smaller departments.
Yeah, right.
And they're the ones that are like, I had 5 murders last year and I solved 4 of them. That's great. Nothing against, small departments like that. But we couldn't even attempt to, give a number. And if you do and you give the wrong number, then someone's going to be like, oh, she didn't work that many murders. So I like to say hundreds.
Yeah, right. I do the same. And I think, I'm even more impressed with these kind of smaller communities, smaller size cities where the detectives are solve these cases, some of them really difficult, intricate cases, because, and I don't, this comes out arrogant, I don't mean it this way. I'm impressed that that skill set is there without the kind of practice, for lack of a better word, that we get all the time.
It's true.
The only time that I get a little off put is when, not to front anybody off. I never met the guy, so I won't mention him. But his nickname's easy, the Homicide Hunter.
Homicide Hunter. He's done thousands.
Are you talking about Marco or the other homicide hunter?
Right. What is he? He's number 40,000. I'm like, how does that work in the middle of that kind of thing? Is like the numbers I can't get my head wrapped around. But that's his issue. He's got a great show, whatever. But
Right, you're like, the math is not math in here.
math, it ain't math.
Yeah, I'd
And I
hate
ain't
to be
a
called
mather.
out like that, though. Like, you didn't work those murders, so that's why we're very, very cautious when we
Yeah.
give numbers out on stuff. But back to what you're saying about small departments, we have lots of practice on, I don't want to say like smaller crimes, but violent crimes that don't result in someone's death. And when you make mistakes there, it's not as detrimental as it is when you're working a homicide case. So we get lots of practice. We get lots of handouts. Smaller departments, I think it's so much tougher to work murder investigations because we can reference what we did yesterday or last week and they can't. Without outside help, they're looking at it like, okay, when I had that murder, 2 years ago, this is what we did. And we all know that murder investigations, things change by the month, different technology, stuff that worked before doesn't work. So it's tough. And I give small departments a lot of credit.
Probably a lot more mentorship. You've got a lot more senior, older detectives that have been around for a while that you can use as a frame of reference. Hey, I got this going on. How do you think I should handle it, or what direction should I go? And that's got to be a big advantage in an urban environment, a place the size of the city with the size of the department.
Think that's true, right?
And for sure, like even the makeup of our team when we first got together, we had the guys that had the experience, right? We had Mike, we had Greg,
right?
Then we had guys that did everything, but those were the guys you kind of looked up to,
right?
It's like, hey, you guys have seen this before. How should I handle this?
We'll be back after a quick break.
I'd like to take a moment from the program to have a real talk about safety and security. Toward that end, I would like to introduce you to my friends over at Blue Knight Security Solutions, your ultimate partner in protection. Blue Knight Security Solutions isn't just your average check your ID at the door security company. They're a team of elite detectives, investigators, and law enforcement professionals with unparalleled expertise. Especially in this realm, I would not vouch for just anyone. I confidently endorse Blue Knight, however, because I've seen and I know their skill sets firsthand. Whether you need their real-world investigative prowess or securing your home, business, synagogue, church, or event, Blue Knight has you covered. From risk assessment to tailored security plans, they'll ensure your safety is priority number one. Please don't get caught in the trap of having the illusion of security. Make sure you are actually making yourself, your loved ones, businesses, and community actually more secure. Blue Knight Security Solutions provides street-smart operators who can handle any situation. Heading out for the evening, worried about your kids heading out safely? Forget the uncertainty of ride shares or cabs. Blue Knight offers secure transportation with trained security operatives who prioritize your safety every step of the way and will get you where you're going with the confidence that you're well protected. Contact Blue Knight Security Solutions today at 773-706-4920 or visit BlueKnightSecuritySolutions.com. That's night like Knights of the Round Table. BlueKnightSecuritySolutions.com. Don't forget to mention my name, and I promise they'll make you feel like family, because your peace of mind matters.
Right. You got to put your ego aside, too, because my old Sergeant Tom, I won't say his last name, but he told us, he's like, you're not in homicide because you don't have an ego. He's like, every single person that works homicide, regardless of what you think, has an ego. So sometimes you have to be able to put that ego aside to be like, okay, I need help here.
Yeah, you definitely, it's a tough gig if you don't believe in yourself, right? So you got to, in a way, fake it till you make it. And then you stop kind of faking it when you get your ass kicked a couple times by good defense attorneys, right? That's when you become that's my argument, that it takes, I think the 5-year mark is always a good, whenever you're in a new position, that 5 more is kind of agreed upon. But I think that really it starts happening when you start going to court and you start, oh man, you get defense attorney hits you or something, you're like, oh, yeah.
You're like, don't do that again. But when stuff like that happens, I always come back with words of wisdom to my team. I'm like, hey, I made a huge mistake, and this is what happened on the stand. And you have to eat it, though. Yeah. When someone comes at you and you make a mistake, you have to be like, I made a mistake. That's the biggest problem that police officers make, is not saying, I made a mistake.
I think we get kind of caught in this like TV culture, this TV, a homicide detective, they do this. But really the end result is not just finding out who did it, but having those charges stick in court and getting a conviction, right? And so I could imagine you could do all these things and do them all very well. And then, based on those first experiences in court, that has to be really kind of the hardest. I'm curious. I'm sitting in the room with 3 incredible homicide detectives, and I have to ask myself, what's harder? Actually working the case and building that case, or dealing with those defense attorneys when you're on the stand for the first 2 or 3 times? Because there's no one there that can walk you through that experience. Like, it's like you get up there and you sit down in that little box and it's like, good luck, kid.
Well, I'll be interested to hear Michele and Marco's take on that, because for me, when I got to Area 4, it was maybe everybody thinks this, but to me, it was like the golden age of great detectives. I had incredible bosses. I had detectives who'd been detectives for 35 years, been on a police department for 40 years, right? And I do think that, and so one of the things they told us as new detectives, and they hadn't made detectives in like 12 years, and I was part of that first class after that long period, and so they needed them bad, so they put a bunch of us right into homicide right away, which doesn't always happen.
Ooh, yeah.
And then, but it was like 6 months before I was given, and Sam and I just talked about that in the last episode.
The case that I was sick for.
Yeah, the first case that we were assigned as lead detectives was a tough one, a 6-year-old boy. It wasn't tough in terms of solving it because we knew who did it right away, but it was just tough kind of emotionally. Be like, oh, wow. But the thing was, with all those experienced detectives, they told us ask questions, especially when you're writing reports. That's where you're going to get jammed up.
Yep.
So I had a lot of detectives that I could go to and say, hey, this is my sup on this. What do you think? And depending on who I went to, I get different styles back. Like, one of my close friends, who you know as well, had been an English professor before he got a job. So his was always, you got 5 too many commas in this. And I don't know how they teach you in Indiana, but that's not how you spell confrontation. You know what I mean?
That's not a complete sentence.
So, okay, all right. I really wasn't looking for that kind of advice, but thank you very much. And then, but him and others would say, a defense attorney is going to murder you if you leave that.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's not necessary. It's not part of the case. You're trying to make it look better. Take it out. So that saved me a lot of those beatings on the stand. I don't know if you guys had similar experiences, because you guys were about 10 or 12 years behind me as detective. What years did you make detective?
I made detective in 07.
Yeah, kid. I made in 2006, so you know.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, so
Listen,
around the same time, when you
guys
went
are
to the
only
area.
like 6 or 7 years behind me. Not that much.
No, but I mean, it's still like, no, we had people that helped us write paper and how to write paper, and you know, we had an incredible sergeant that would read our paperwork and just make sure there was nothing that was inaccurate. He wouldn't change style per se. Like some people, you know, different people have different writing styles. But he would tell you if something was wrong or if you made a mistake. But he always said that it should read like a book. It should read like a story from beginning to end. And that's how I always thought. And it's funny, writing the book was not a lot different than writing my closer reports. And closer reports are when the case is closed, you put the investigation from crime scene to when they're charged by felony review. So that's what I tried to do. And I ended up writing, you know, pretty good paper, and I got better as it went on. So I ended up being like the proofer for our team, where I would look through and they're like, okay, Michele, read this before I turn it in. Right. And I think that helped me by reading other people's stuff to be a better writer. And to, when I did eventually make sergeant, and I had to, you know, legit look at people's reports, my team would always say, they're like, uh-oh, Michele's grading our reports. Right. And I would look, I'm like, no, some of the stuff just doesn't have to be
just
in here.
Don't do it with a red pen.
Are there
I did.
Are there
a pink pen. Are
there detectives that are great detectives but horrible at writing reports?
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But mostly they don't write the reports. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have partners who are good at that.
Yeah.
And that's how good supervisors are important in the detective division, because and it's a weird thing that same type of detective you're talking about can be a really outstanding detective, doesn't really write good paper. Counterintuitively, it may seem, often testifies really well, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Not always, but so you kind of bridge that gap, and that's why partners end up playing off each other's skills. We talked about this in the last episode, right? Mm-hmm. And Marco, you jump in on this because you got a lot of experience with it too. In the interview process of suspects, and that plays a critical role too. You know, it's not as simple as good cop, bad cop. It's more complicated than that. There are just times where, and especially we worked on that team, each of us would have somebody that we communicated a little bit better. Okay, you know, and okay, this dude likes talking to Michele. right? So that, or this woman,
Right.
a lot of times likes talking to Michele. So Michele, you
Women
mind,
usually didn't like me. We'd send them to Marco or another guy on our team, JC. But yeah, no, I agree.
And then with the hardcore players, it was more about, okay, what style is going to work, and how you're going to be able to do that. I do want to get back real quick, though. One of the things that I really appreciate that you did about this book, and the reason I bring up that number thing is, instead of taking that shotgun approach and trying to talk about 50 different murders, you picked out some really interesting ones and kind of went through them in detail. I think that's a really smart move, because you really got, and one in particular, you're kind of continuing to tell the story of your life as it's going on and your career as it's going on, while this case continues to go on, which is super common, actually, right? Because these cases usually are not usually, but often you have cases that you stay. I mean, I have one opus of a case that spanned almost the entire time I was a detective.
Wow.
I caught the case in 2001 when it happened. I didn't have the scene, but it was one of those midnight situations where we took it over right away. And it took us 6 years to get the guy identified. Had semen, good evidence, but he wasn't in the system. Another 3 years to get him charged, to tie up all the loose ends because of all the other things you have to do. Another 3 or 4 years to get it adjudicated. The appellate court sent it back for something his attorney allegedly didn't do. We had to retry it. He's convicted again. That was a 15-year span. This poor family had to go through that.
And poor Mike Hammond had to go through it.
It was a lot. And he was there beside me the whole time.
Poor Chris.
For that. Yeah, right.
Well, I mean,
He was my bartender.
Yeah, there were a lot of late nights, close the door, lock the door, and talk about the day or the week, you know? Like, there were some momentous occasions where, you know, this is what we think, you know?
How many times do you think I said to you over that period, what am I missing here?
Yeah.
Right? What am I missing?
Yeah, especially in those early years, you know?
Because this is not, but so I really appreciate you did that, because the truth is, it does go on. You keep, the work don't stop, right? I mean, the waves don't keep coming at you. You want to solve that case. And you're going to solve that case, right?
Yeah.
You're dedicated. But on the other hand, that sergeant keeps walking out and saying, hey, I know you're up, but, you know, that's why the joke was, you go to roll call. When you say, what do you work on? You better have something to work on. And the joke used to be in Area 4, just yell out a color or a president.
Right. Say something, right?
Because there's always a Brown or a Green or a Johnson or a Kennedy, or there's always a victim in Area 4 with one of those names.
I'm putting that in my next book.
Were the cases that you dealt with in the book, were those cases that you felt like a particular emotional connection to?
There was no rhyme or reason to the cases that I picked out. I think a lot of them were, it was something special about the victim, not about the offender, not about the crime scene. I had other cases in there that just didn't make it. Like I said, I redrafted that book so many times. I mean, I think I have 18 different versions of it. But I think it was a lot of them, like one of them, it was a sexual assault case. And that victim always just stuck with me, because I thought she was so resilient and just an amazing person, and her strength I always admired. So anytime I thought about cases, and it was also the case that you warned people about, because unfortunately this poor girl was walking down the street, and the offender, who later confessed, told me, he said, I was looking for a victim. And you can't get any more devious than that. He was looking for a victim, so someone was going to be victimized. Unfortunately, it was her. But she was just so resilient, and there was no way that case wasn't going to be in the story of my life, because she impacted me. And there were a lot of parallels to something that I went through with her. And unfortunately, she looked just like my sister. That's not in the book, but people were joking. They're like, Michele, are you working this case so hard because you're related to her? And no, I mean, this girl, just for whatever reason, she could have been my sister. So maybe that's another reason that bothered me. I don't know.
Right. So let's get back to that point I have, that because, you know, I started this podcast. One of the things that you start to realize is that people want to know more about you, right? You want to know. And so there's always this kind of fine line of, all right, how much am I going to put myself out there? How much am I going to talk about? How much of the emotional part of it am I going to talk about? It's probably some tough guy shit to that a little bit, and you kind of start to let that go and be open. You really kind of, in a lot of ways, were real open and honest, laid your soul bare here a lot. In fact, you made a comment that a lot of this story you would not have told had your mother still been alive.
Correct.
So how did you come about that decision? Were you bouncing that off Marco a lot, or were you just kind of decided right away, I'm just going to lay it all out there, or was it a process?
No. I was diagnosed with cancer in 2023, so I have an incurable cancer. I'm fine. I'm thriving. I'm doing well. But I think that changed a lot of stuff. I wanted to leave something behind for my daughter. And the stories I think were really important. Some of the stories that are in there, my mom couldn't have handled. My mom was very protective, and I did hide a lot of stuff from her just in life. And the particular incident of me being attacked on the street, I didn't tell her about it because I was worried of how she would take it. And there were other things that happened in life that I used to always protect my mother. And I was kind of, as I got older, I was kind of her caretaker, right? Like tried to take care of her, tried to make sure that she was okay, even up until her death. So I would never put anything out that would hurt her, and she would be so mad at herself. So, and then there's other stuff in there that, I don't know. I just decided if I'm going to write it and I'm going to put it out there, I'm just going to put it all out there. Yeah. And, I think I used to care also what people thought about me. I literally do not care. Like, I hope people think I'm a nice person, and I hope people think I do a good job with what I do. But in terms of people liking me or not liking me, I don't care. Yeah. So it is what it is. This is it.
It's a good place to be in, right?
It
It really is a good place to be in, because that's when you're kind of settled into self, I think. You know what I mean? And you should be. Like, you got nothing. You don't owe anybody anything.
In case you did see the last episode and you were asking yourself if Michele could get any tougher, the answer is yes.
Right. So, just great work, and
Thank you.
I appreciate that it's out there. I think people should read it. I think my daughter is already talking about reading it. So great work. I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment just to finish it.
It is. And it's funny because I got the book deal in May of last year, and I told my publisher that I'd be done in May of 2026. And he's like, okay. I'm like, wait, is that not good? I'm like, March of 2026? And I was like, wait, how long should this take? And he's like, you have all the material there. He's like, you just have to put it in order. So you tell me what you think. He's like, different people have different timelines. So I said, okay. So I started it, and I was like moving along, pretty quickly. And I saw that I had all of the contents of the book were there. It was just in 50 different ways. So I said, you know what? December 31st is going to be my deadline. And I finished it we were actually on vacation. Mm-hmm. And I finished it on vacation, and I finished it December 24th. And then I didn't hear back. So I'm like, oh my God, it must suck. It must suck. And on December 31st, they're like, okay, we're ready for February. I'm like, February 2027? He's like, no, February 2026. I'm like, whoa, I'm not ready yet. I'm not even retired. So it worked out well, but I was just pushing along, and I didn't have to rewrite anything. I just had to move stuff around. Yeah. So it was there.
Yeah. Good for you. Very proud of you in a very non-condescending way. I mean, that's just amazing work. And so I like it. So
that's a hard act, though. That's a hard act to follow.
I'm telling you.
All right, I haven't written a book.
What's your book going to be about? I'm writing a book.
Me? It's going to be about me.
It started out like this, and now it's kind of like a reboot of 100 Years of Solitude.
It's a long book. It's a really long book. And the print is really small.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to take a moment from the program to have a real talk about safety and security. Toward that end, I would like to introduce you to my friends over at Blue Knight Security Solutions, your ultimate partner in protection. Blue Knight Security Solutions isn't just your average check your ID at the door security company. They're a team of elite detectives, investigators, and law enforcement professionals with unparalleled expertise. Whether you need their real-world investigative prowess or securing your home, business, synagogue, church, or event, Blue Knight has you covered. From risk assessment to tailored security plans, they'll ensure your safety. Blue Knight Security Solutions provides street-smart operators who can handle any situation. Contact Blue Knight Security Solutions today at 773-706-4920 or visit BlueKnightSecuritySolutions.com.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. So, you grew up in the city?
Yeah. So, born and raised in the city. Grew up on, I guess, I don't even know what neighborhood. Would it be the West Side, Cicero, North Avenue?
Well, I was going to say your beginning. Marco initially grew up on the South Side.
Well, yeah. Well, after Cicero, North Avenue, I lived
Okay.
there, like early grammar school. Then we went to like 63rd and Western. So I have no idea when my parents thought that was a good idea to go
Yeah.
from that to that. But
Well, I think there was a time when 63rd and Western, it's still not bad over there, right? But it's changed some.
yeah, it's changed.
That,
some.
that seemed, I think, like a working class step up back then. I don't know what year you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, this
but-
was like 90.
Yeah, so
I think it was gang infested though at
Yeah.
that time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Very
that was the
gang-infested.
problem.
Yeah.
By the time I was in special operations, which was 96, yeah, that area was pretty tough.
It was popping.
Yeah,
It was going on.
Yeah, but not like North and Western.
Well, no, Cicero and
I mean Cicero and
Yeah, North Avenue.
of
So
that.
then-
yeah,
yeah.
North and
Then
Western.
after that, my dad. It was me, and my brother, two pretty young guys, and at that point, there was a lot of gang activity in the neighborhood. So we got up like the Beverly Hillbillies and went to Irving Park in like Cumberland. First time I
Oh.
ever saw a deer.
Yeah. Yeah.
My neighbor was on his porch playing a guitar. It was Sweet Child of Mine. I'll never forget that. I was used to breakdancing,
A little bit-
Chicago people.
Irving
you know?
and, Irving and
You were kinda
Cumberland,
like,
that's
what
had to be
kind of
some,
white man's world am I
Oh.
drugged
oh, it had to
into?
be some serious culture shock there.
First 2 days of school, we got suspended. First 2 days. Dad's like, what is wrong with you guys?
It had to be some serious culture shock.
Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that. Well, yeah, like I said, the first 2 days of school, we went to day one of school. There was some racial slurs thrown at us.
Oh,
That was that. Huh?
I mean,
Yeah.
I can imagine that neighborhood, and that was also that neighborhood was exploding with new immigrants from Poland at the
Yeah.
time, right?
Poland, Italian, very Italian.
Yeah,
So we were like the first Hispanic Puerto Rican family on the block. So it was a little bit of a culture shock for some people.
yeah.
But you know what? It was probably the best decision my dad ever made. We stood out of that atmosphere that would have probably drug us in as kids, and
Yeah.
we were able to thrive as a family. So it worked out.
And then you guys both end up at Lane Tech.
Same time?
Yeah, we did. Michelle, well, I always tell the story. I would
Yeah.
see her like I played baseball and football there, and I would see her like in passing, and I was like, "Who's that girl?" And I was always interested.
Were you the same same graduating class, or like a couple years ago?
I'm older than him.
Right. So yeah, the beautiful older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 year older, 10 months older. Let's not get crazy, Chris.
Slow
Slow down.
Truth comes out quick. I should have been a detective.
Yeah,
Right.
seriously.
Yeah, it's really tough if you're like 6 years older, right?
Yeah.
In high school.
Then
Wait,
that's
how does that work?
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I knew her in high school. And then just you fast forward, I ended up going to Wright College, which funny enough, one of her best friends, childhood friends, went there. And he actually got on our team, JC,
Mm-hmm.
one of another detectives, and we went to Western, Illinois together, and we came back on break. And what do college kids go do on break? They go have a drink, right? And we walk in, and who's there? Michelle.
Right.
So she had no idea who
It
it
was
was.
fate.
It
Yeah.
was.
I
It
didn't,
was.
but
You know,
Who's this guy?
yeah.
No, but I always tell
Pennsylvania.
people, I'm like, we went to high school together. Marco's like, stop saying that you didn't know who I was. I'm like, but we went to high school together. I make it sound like we were besties then.
Doesn't count. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, do you go right into the police department then out of
No, so
college?
funny enough, while going to college, I actually tested for Chicago. I was 21, and they had just moved the age to 23. So they told me, did the power test. It was like a Friday. I'll never forget this. I'm 21 years old. They said, "Can you start on Monday?" Shit, yeah, I could start on Monday.
Oh, that sucks.
me and my buddies go out Friday night. I'm telling the whole world I'm going to be a cop. Sunday night, they call me on the phone. They say, are you 23? I said, no, I'm 21. All right, call us back in 2 years.
Oh,
So my job was gone
yeah.
in a matter of 48 hours. So,
Oh, that's tough.
so I ended up, at that point, I ended up going to work for Illinois Department of Corrections. So did that for 2 years until I ended up.
What year was that?
God, that was 97, 98. And then I got on the police department 99. So, but it was good. It taught me. I don't know if I could be on this job at 21 years old.
Yeah, that's wild.
Oh, yeah, we work with several people that came on at 21, including Sergeant Tom you talked about, another good friend of mine. Came on at 21. I'd have been a problem for sure.
23, I wasn't ready, and I was on.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I got on at 29. I think that was just about the right time for me. You know,
Being that age and working for Department of Corrections had to be an interesting experience.
It was. I was assigned to the juvenile section, and I was in a women's juvenile facility.
That sounds like a problem waiting to happen.
Oh my God, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I was doing reports all day long, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's but it you grow up real quick.
Yeah. And when you got on the police department, where'd you work first?
So then I got assigned to the 10th district, which back then was 23rd and Damon. And then funny enough, my first day on the job, I'll never forget this, December of 99, they set me up with a really good guy. I think he just retired. Our first day out, it's freezing cold out, and I'm working late afternoon, so it's like a 4 o'clock start. And I'm still living at home. So I tell my parents I'll be home at 12:30. By the time I get, I'm done. So we're driving down the street, and this is 16th and coming up on like Central Park. You guys know the area. And a lady comes out and was just assaulted by someone. She runs out. I have no idea where I'm at, what I'm doing. I got this really cool leather jacket that I just bought at the store that weighed like 25 pounds. I'm like stuck in the car, right? And she goes, and there he goes. And the guy's running down the street. So my partner says, "Hey, Marco, you know where you're at?" I says, "No." He says, "All right, I'm going to jump out and chase this guy, and you just keep me in your sight. Take the wheel." I said, "Okay." So he takes out, and he's chasing this guy for like 3 blocks. And it's about 5 degrees out. So I don't know if you've ever run in that kind of weather, right? After a block, you're done. And I'm behind him going about 3 miles an hour in the squad car with every light on. Because he told me just stay behind me, So we end up driving the guy. The guy ended up, he was one of the prisoners or juveniles when I worked in the male division. And as soon as I got there, he's like, "Marco, what are you doing here?" So fast forward, we go to Area 4, Detective Division. We're there. It's 3 a.m. Who calls me? My mom. She calls over. Back then, we didn't have cell phone.
Yeah.
So she called, and they're like, over the PA system, "Is there a probationary police officer, Marco Garcia, here?" And I'm like, I'm right
Your
here.
mom's on
mom's
5
the
too.
phone.
Your mom's on 5 too.
Yeah. I never gave her a
Answer
number,
it
so I don't
now.
know how she found me.
That's
but
awesome.
yeah,
That's
first day on
the
the
best
job.
story ever.
That's great.
First day.
When I first got a cell phone, I was driving I was in special operations at the time. I was driving on the Kennedy Expressway, and phone rang. It was my grandmother, and my grandmother died about 15 years ago. She was 93, but biggest influence in my life on me. But she's a character, right? He knew her. I mean, she was the funniest person I ever met. She lived down in Paris, Illinois. It's about an hour and a half south here, but she got Chicago Tribune every day. She kind of grew up a lot of time as a child up here in Chicago. She always had that strong connection to Chicago. And one day I'm driving to work. It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and my phone rings. It's her. It's always scared me a little bit, because like I'm just glad it's her answering, right? In her 90s, and I'm like, "Hey, Ma." She goes, "Michael, are you in trouble?" I said, "I don't think so." "Well, why? What's up?" She said, "Well, I see in the Tribune this morning there's these policemen got arrested for stealing drugs or something from a drug dealer." And I'm like, it was some guys on a tag team down the south side, and I've heard about it. But I'm like, "No, Ma, that's not me." You know what I mean? That happened down the south side. She goes, "That's good." I said, "But it does beg the question, Ma. Like, what are you worried about? What do you think I'm capable of that you're worried about me stealing?" She said, "You're always a rough boy." She said, "You're always a rough boy." I'm like, well, maybe, but I don't steal drug money, Ma. So don't worry about it. So I get it, man. Like my grandmother's calling me to keep me in line.
We were about to go on a trip. We were standing in his living room. Lived across the street from Wrigley Field. He had this huge empty fish tank. I don't know that it ever had any fish in it, but there was an empty fish tank there. And Ma looked at it. She winked at me, and she looked at Mike and goes, "We're the inhabitants of this thing anyway." For some reason, I've never been able to forget that. That was 1995, 1996.
She probably, of all the advice I ever got as a policeman, she probably gave me the most solid, and that was, "I don't want you coming out of this job with any more holes in you than you started."
That's good.
Yeah, almost
not bad advice.
Very close, very close. So, okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. I meet you. We are in Area North Homicide at that point. You made detective, what year was this? Probably...
The merger, 2012.
12. Wow, I was going to think earlier. So you've been a detective for a little while then.
At that point, I had 4 years on.
Yeah. So we could go through this, but for the amount of time, I mean, we were some really good cases together. I was always I did a lot of work by myself, but it was great to be on a homicide team. I come from cold case where I went back to Area 4, and once you work cold case, you're stuck there a little bit because, the department loves the cold case.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about, you know what I mean? Because they're free clearances, and we can get into the politics of that another time. But I always enjoyed working those older cases anyway. So I'm not trying to jump over things too much, but I do want to get to the hostage negotiation thing because I know people really want to hear what that is about. So walk us through that. How do you get involved, and what is that job really as compared to what Hollywood says it is?
Yeah, I mean, so the easiest way to say it is basically we get called when maybe a patrol officer or even homicide has an offender that's so dangerous that it's like, hey, let's get the SWAT team here, right? We have the weapons that we can match up. We got the armored vehicles, got guys with ballistic shields. But, number one, now everything is de-escalation, right? So the first thing we do is as soon as I get a phone call that, hey, we have someone that's barricaded, I call out, my team. I have 30 people on my team. They're all detectives or detective sergeants.
Or wives. Yes. There's one wife
do you ever
on your
do
team.
that? Yeah. Do you ever just nudge her and say, "You're up"?
Yes.
I have St. Patty's Day one year.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I've gone out to jobs. He's the only sergeant, so it is tough for him because he has to go to every single job. Like every detective doesn't have to go. Like 2, 3, 4 detectives have to go. And I'm a negotiator, but I don't function as a supervisor when I'm negotiating. I'm just a negotiator. So you are the boss of me on those jobs. So when I go out sometimes, if he's not there, they're like, "The sergeant's here." I'm like, no, I'm just a negotiator. I'm like, "The sergeant will be here, though."
I like when she goes out because then I can boss her around a little bit. I mean, come on, it's a free one, right?
Over there.
I listen, though.
How long do you let that go on before you're like, all right?
Yeah, you know what? I'm his biggest supporter, so I defer to him for everything. Like I am pretty a personality in life, but with stuff like that is not. I know what I need to do in my job, but I don't know what he needs to do. So I ask him, I'm like, what do you want to do with this? So I always will defer to him. And that's the only time that he will be allowed to boss me around. And I will listen.
But okay, so I don't want to get in the middle of that. But I do believe that's true. So you get called out. So I'm semi-familiar with this. I mean, you get your first round. Basically, it's you got an up list kind of, or
Yeah, so the way we work it's we don't have an up list. Honestly, the first thing I do is I send out a text message, a mass text message, right? So the way I break it up is north side, south side. So if we have something out at 113th and Prairie, I usually don't call the guy who's coming from Harlem and Toohey, right? Because most of the time these guys, they're at home. They don't have squad cars. They're coming with their personal cars. So if anyone's trying to take the 90 to 100 and something in Prairie, you'll get there in about 2 hours.
Right.
You know, so we break it up like that. When we get to the scene, I would say our first primary duty is to verify the incident.
Yeah.
Right. I think what we do very much is we kind of slow things down.
Yeah.
We slow it down. We verify, hey, what in fact is going on? Who called 911? Let me have, I might tell Michele, hey, get on the phone with the 911 caller. Let's vet this. Let's see what's really going on.
Right.
And then we're just doing a lot of fact finding, grabbing body cams. A lot of these younger officers will tell us something in the heated moment. We watch those body cams and might not be exactly what they initially thought it was. So now it's, hey, we don't really have a barricade here. We're dealing with someone who's in a mental health crisis, who's maybe schizophrenic or bipolar. They're not really a harm to themselves or anyone else. They probably just didn't want to come into the house. So now we got to reevaluate. Hey, do we keep 30 SWAT officers here, 5 negotiators? And when we go out with armored trucks. We go out with command vans. Fire comes out with us, bomb techs, and K9.
Right.
So you're talking 40 to 60 people on a scene.
Because it's really easy to back that off. It's much easier to back that off than to try and get it there in a crisis, right? I mean,
And if we don't have legal authority, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So that I think that's a lot. And nowadays I feel like the mental health crisis is just, I don't know what's going on, but it's really exploding.
Yeah.
I feel like we deal with that a lot.
Certainly. I mean, I think, I don't know if it's directly related, but I think everybody's acutely in tune with it since COVID, right? I mean, because I think it's just kind of everybody, it's become the forefront. So how do you make, I mean, you're not a psychiatrist, you're not a psychologist, so you're using your experience to determine kind of where they're at, and then what's that look like then? You got, as opposed to a wanted murderer who's, I ain't going back to prison ever again, and a guy who's just having a bad mental health day and is in crisis and just needs, how do you make that determination, and then how do you proceed?
I mean, most of that stuff's determined through intel, right? We'll talk to families, say, hey, what's going on? What's the triggering event? What happened? Why are we here today? Once we figure that out, we'll usually get on the line with them. Nowadays, it's so easy to get someone's cell phone, someone's, Facebook or Instagram, and just start sending them messages. As soon as we can verify that that person is okay, no type of crime has been committed, we'll pull off and we'll let it to the mental health experts.
Yeah.
Right. So all of us, all as negotiators, have been through a 40-hour FBI class where the FBI actually comes out and trains us. But we've also been through CIT training. So we've all been through at least 40 hours of CIT training just to get the basics, right? I'm not a psychiatrist.
What's CIT?
So crisis intervention training.
Okay.
And then Marco went to Quantico and trained there, which I thought was really cool. Like the fact that someone from Chicago would go out there, like that was a super interesting. Yeah,
I went out there for 2 weeks, did a lot of really cool things at Quantico.
And what was that? Was there a specific specification for that training, or was it kind of general?
So for that training, you got to get put in and sponsored by the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
So I got put in from the Chicago office, actually sponsored me and said, hey, can we send Marco to this training? I think there's only 8 officers countrywide that actually go to this training a year. So it was a big honor to get selected for it.
Good for you.
You know, so
Marco's a big deal, Mike. He's very humble when he talks about stuff. But yeah,
I'm not
there's a lot
coming out
more
of
to
this
that.
building until Marco's
Yeah,
here.
yeah. No, they pick. Like he's a drone operator, so he's actually a pilot. And I always joke around. I'm like, oh my god, my husband's a pilot because he is one of the few drone operators. And then he also, in 2022, we won Negotiators of the Year. Our team did because of him.
yeah. I mean, I got a great group of people, right? So when I took this over it's been about 6 years ago. When I first got there, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? I just kind of got put into place and I sat back and I just kind of watched and took it all in. I was like, man, this is some pretty cool stuff going on here.
Right.
But I had some really good guys and really good girls doing it. So when I noticed what they were doing and they were really getting no accolades, I mean, you're calling people out of bed at 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, family parties, Christmas. These guys are coming out to help people. So I thought, hey, you know what? It's going to be my duty to make sure that they get the recognitions that they deserve.
Right.
Right.
Good
So,
for you.
I just kind of.
Yeah, that's the hallmark of a good boss.
So you got a guy that's barricaded himself in an apartment. Maybe he's got a hostage, but he's not. He says he's not coming out, and he's got a history of violence. How do you talk him off of that? Like, what are the first steps that you're taking to talk him off of that ledge?
So,
right, because the goal at that point is de-escalation, right?
Yeah, 100%. So ultimately, first thing is always intel, right? Who is he holding, and why is he holding them? Is this an instrumental? Is what we call it? Are they holding them because, hey, I just robbed the bank and I'm using this person to get out of here, or is it expressive? Are they holding them because maybe they dated, and now
someone symbolic or yeah.
Yeah. So now that's gonna be the fork in the road to decide, hey, how are we gonna handle this? If this is maybe his ex-wife or girlfriend or someone he caught cheating, well, we know there's a lot of triggers if we start going down that road. Right. So we're gonna try to figure out, hey, does this guy have any kids? Does he have what does he like to do? What are his hooks? We never go right to man, your wife.
So you're not walking
cheated on you?
Not
Shit.
not like the movies.
That's why I never did that.
Not like the movies where you
I'd be
pull up,
so mad.
get out of the car, and you're on the phone like, "What's going on in there, Henry?" Like,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like that, but I would say mostly not. We have some characters on our team, and some people are just the Larry. I'm talking about Larry. Larry can talk to anyone, and he's so funny. Like, this guy is hilarious. And I remember we had one guy that was being holding his grandmother hostage. We ended up getting the grandma out of the house, but then he went and he set the curtains on fire. And I was talking to him, and I would tell you right now, he did not like me. He called me a B every single time, and I'm looking at Marco. I'm like, can I get someone else in here? This guy does not like me. This guy hated women. So
And
I'm
he
the
asked for
wrong
heroin,
person.
too.
He did ask me for heroin. I said, no heroin, but I will get a man for you to talk to. But he completely covered himself in cooking oil because he thought it made him flammable. I'm like, it'll make you tasty, but it's not going to make you flammable.
Yeah.
But so we get Larry, one of the negotiators, who's amazing, and he gets on the phone with him, and this guy is loving Larry. And he's like, yeah, I'll come out. And he's like, wait, you will come out? He's like, yeah. And then the guy's like, well, I got to take a shower first because I'm covered in oil. And Larry's like, so am I. He's like, I'm a greasy little fat guy. Come on out. And Larry is the cutest thing in the entire world. But that's always his shtick. He always says, I'm ugly. And he's not ugly. He's a cute guy.
Yeah. And in that particular case, this happened out in Mount Greenwood, right? So it's a neighborhood, a policeman,
Yes.
not a policeman, but they're very proud of their neighborhood, right?
Oh yeah.
So this guy
The
was
village, we call it.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was how can I say it?
The neighborhood menace.
Yes. So as soon as he comes out, he walks out in the whole neighborhood. What the? It became a negotiation with the neighborhood not to kill this guy.
Yeah.
But those are some of
Let me ask you this: do you have a SWAT commander kind of at your side, and you're this kind of when the extreme where? And I know this happens because I've lived through this where this can go bad on an edge at any time, right? Yeah. So how does that work then? Do you have a SWAT a SWAT commander beside you, and it's like, okay, if this happens, you guys are going, or what's that look like?
Yeah. So the way it's set up in our command van would be, so you have a tactical operational center, which is kind of in the front of the command van, and then you have a negotiation operational center in the back. So basically, we've probably handled 600 plus SWAT incidents in the last 6 years. I've negotiated maybe 3 of those. That's not my job.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to be like the tactical liaison. Hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is who I'm gonna put on the phone. This is our approach. But I need to run that through. And right now, our SWAT commander is awesome. So his last name is Torres. He's a great guy. This is what he's done the last, I think, 20 years. But he gets it. He understands it, right? And so we don't do anything without his approval, and then we get the approval of the deputy chief, who's also there.
Yeah.
And so we already know anything that we're going to do, I push it through him, he okays it, and then we move forward. And there have been, recently we had a guy who did a countdown. And and that's why I don't get on the phone, because there's no way for me to communicate that to my bosses.
Yeah, right.
And the guy was, all of a sudden said, 3, 2. I ran over that, says, hey, this guy's doing a countdown, 1. And he let off a shot at our guys. Thank God nothing happened and hit our Bearcat. And, we signed it and put the date and everything like that, because now we got to memorialize it.
People don't know what Bearcats are.
Our armored truck.
Yeah.
But.
So at that point, entry is imminent?
Well, at that point, yeah. So there's levels of force.
Yeah.
Right? At that point, yeah, he shot at us, but he retreated back in. Right? Mm-hmm. So at this point, do we start hitting the house? We don't know the layout. We're working on the layout. Yeah, but at that point, we're just, they started probing, throwing in gas, and a couple other different tactical things were happening there.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's come so far from when I got on a job in the early 90s, and early on, we had a couple of, with your guy DPW, I mean, he and I did everything tactically you probably shouldn't do, but we ended up in a house with a guy who killed his girlfriend on the street, shot at a policeman, shot at other people, took family hostage in a house, and through just pure bad luck or happenstance, or we were slower than all the other 50 coppers chasing him, we ended up behind the house that the guy was actually in, and an old timer came out the back and said, he's in there, he's got family in there, so we just went in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The thought of, all right, we should call SWAT, but it was just a different time. Back then,
different mentality.
If you called, and this is no fault of the guys, I had a lot of good friends. Actually, for a minute, I was on that hostage barricade team, but it was not. They weren't full time, They're called out kind of like the negotiators are now. How long is it going to take you to amass and get out there? Well, that was HBT now, like SWAT who are out on the street now.
Yeah.
You call SWAT and they're going to be there fairly quickly. That was not the thing back then at all. So it's like, okay, we got this family. You make tactical decisions that are not great tactical decisions, probably out of the book, but that was the life, you know. And
you do what you can, right?
Yeah, right.
Did you ever do a hostage negotiation on Lakewood Avenue, up in Rogers Park, Edgewater? Yeah. Two flat.
Yeah.
Like 15, 20 people in there partying. I was coming down the alley like 2:00 in the morning and gotten some pizza, and there's, guys with ARs and rubbed off. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I live right over there. You guys want some pizza? They're like, no, we don't want any pizza. Like, let me walk you to your apartment. So like, I'm like, it was a crack house a couple doors down. They were having a party and took the pizza inside, got the dog, and came back out. And the guy's like, what are you doing?
And I think we've been there twice.
Yeah, yep.
That was bad.
Yep.
Every time we're here, that guy comes out with his dog, man. I was getting pizza.
Absolutely hammered. And like, I could go get some more pizza for everybody. It's right down the street. You're like,
You're like, do you need my help?
Just
I'm ready.
Just go inside.
I'm really good at talking.
Yeah.
That guy's an asshole, by the way. Light that house up.
Just go get him. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. That's fascinating. You do great work. You always do great work, man.
Thanks, I appreciate it, Mike.
Michelle's right. You are way undersell yourself, but
He does. He tells stories. I'm like, where were you? I'm like, let me tell you the real story, because he's very humble, and I think that's just his personality. I'm like, no, not me. I always give him the respect he deserves. I think that job, when he came into it, was a different job. The guy that did it before did a great job, but he totally revamped the program. Like, unfortunately, he's always sending us to training. I'm like, what are we training now? We just had training last week. And I'm like, oh my God. But it is good because we do tabletop, and a lot of times, there's 30 detectives and sergeants who are negotiators, and a lot of times you don't get to go on the phone. And a lot of times you don't get to coach. So when we do these trainings, you get to go through different scenarios and kind of figure out what you would do. And I was talking to a guy once that was at the window, and everyone said that he had a long gun rifle. And it ended up being a lightsaber, by the way. No joke.
Equally dangerous.
Yes.
If the Star Wars movies
in
would be
the right hands.
Yes, but I was running out of things to say. I was talking to him for so long that I didn't know what to say. So then Marco came with what do you call it? Your little
my little cheat sheet of.
It's a cheat sheet of
different phrases,
and stuff. And I'm using them because I'm talking to him. He's like, I'm not coming out, and this and that. And then I'm like, what do I say now? There's only so many times you could be like, it sounds really scary. It sounds like you're having a really tough time. You try to get to them. And he wasn't not talking to me, but he wasn't giving me anything that was saying that he was going to end up coming out. And then you just kind of, have like a brain fart where you're like, okay, tell me something now. Coach me. Give me something.
You probably had, at that particular job, you probably had 20 SWAT guys like, are you kidding me? Let's go. They want to hit the door, right? On top of a bunch of type A guys. You're like, you're screaming at this guy with the lightsaber, and you're saying the same thing.
And I'm on a microphone.
Yeah.
And the microphone makes it so much harder because I'm like, sounds like you're having a bad day. And everybody on the vlog is like, shut up.
We're all having a bad day.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, I too am having a bad day.
Right. Now you got 15 people on the block
Yeah.
got hostages, right? Yeah.
And the whole block is shut down, and it's Madison Avenue during rush hour. So imagine, everyone hates us. I'm
Where'd
like,
he get the
dude, come
lightsaber?
out.
I don't know where he got that lightsaber.
Darth Vader? I don't know.
I'm your father, Luke.
Where does one get a lightsaber?
I heard you got some bad news. Listen. Yeah, that's good for you guys, because that's a job they would often ask us about, particularly if you're a homicide detective and you get a reputation for being good at talking to people in the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, especially, they're gonna come to you and ask, and I was, I got no interest in that. I'm not, even my interviewing style, that I can end up as patient as you can be in talking to somebody for 40 hours in a row or whatever. I have this undertone of impatience that always worked for me a little bit. Like, that's bullshit, right? I mean, that's bullshit, right?
You do, but I was going to say, you're also not giving yourself credit, because you're really good at talking to people. You put people at ease, and I've seen you put people at ease. There's different, characters on a team where it's like, okay, this person would be good. And it's almost like sometimes with witnesses or offenders, we would pick out almost who needs to go in the room. And you are a person, you're very chill. You're not going to yell. And then the other person on our team, Greg, that we mentioned, he might be a little bit more of when I needed the dad that was going to really talk to someone and, give them a tongue lashing, I would want Greg with. That's Marco is I called him the linguistic chameleon, because he just morphed into whoever he was talking to, and that's why people liked him. I was like, yeah. I was like, did you guys grow up together? I was
just going to reference Airplane. And me as a hostage negotiator, I'd have just been like, I hear what you're saying, but you're making me want to light myself on fire. We gotta wrap this up, dude. You're killing me. Right now, I'm about 2 seconds away from hanging myself on the wall. So please, for the love of God, just come out.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. That's
Chris, you need to not say that.
Yeah, it's amazing the conversations you have with people over the years, right? I mean, one of the last murders, probably the last murder that I was assigned as a lead detective before I retired, was July 4th, and there's a gang war going on right at Francisco and Harrison. and there was a car wash there, and they had really good video. And I got the video, and I see the killer. The video's so good. You see the car pull up. You see the killer reach in. He's in the passenger street. Reach in the glove box, pull the gun out, put it in his waistband, get out, walk around. Very distinctive looking guy too. He's like 6'4".
You said this was at the car wash?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah. So he walks around. He walks right by two old-time traveling vice lords, which is a gang on the west side that I know well and I've known for years. And they kind of look at him with an eye, but they see he's not, he's not on nothing. Mm-hmm. He walks past them. He walks up to the guy dealing the alley, pulls the stuff, shoots him down, then runs down the alley. So it takes a while. We put the case together, but the two guys, I've known one of them is hardcore anti-police guy. I've known him for years. Had battles with him, just whatever. I got to get him in to view a lineup, right? That's one of those things you have to do for the state's attorney. I don't care if he says he saw nothing, right? Whatever. So I get him in, and his nickname was Fats. And I get him in. I said, Fats, you got to look like. I told you I didn't see shit, man. I'm glad I could pick nobody out. I said, look, this is you on video. I didn't look at it. I didn't whatever. And I said, well, you just got to look at the lineup because I got to get the state's attorney happy. You can do whatever you want in the lineup. Fine. So I go in the lineup room with him, and he looks. I don't see shit. I told you I didn't see him. I said, all right. I tell the other dicks in there, okay, take off. So he leaves. I said, all right, Fats. I said, it's just me and you talking now. You're on record. You don't know it. You don't know who the guy is. I get it. I said, have all these years would put the wrong guy in jail. I'm almost all that stuff. I want you to look in there, and I want you man to man to tell me that I got the wrong guy. And he looked at me, and he looked right at the guy. He looked right at him, and he goes, I ain't that easy, Hammond. I ain't that easy. And I'm like, good enough, man. Good enough. Take off. So I won't forget that conversation because he's like, it was for a second. I think he considered like, I'll just say it. But then he's like, no chance. No chance. I'm putting myself in the middle of that. Anyway, Model Detective. It's going to be linked in my show notes. It's on Amazon.
It is.
Is there a preferable place that you go? Is Amazon good as any?
Amazon is it right now. There's a couple of other distributors, but Amazon is what I like.
Okay. On Amazon, it's a great book. I think you'll like it. Chris, what did I forget, brother? What do you got?
Well, if you find yourself in a hostage situation, ask for Marco.
Demand. Marco.
I want a pizza, and I want Marco here. I'm not talking to anybody until...
And then we're good. Now we're going to get people who are out of money that just want a pizza calling. That's all we need.
No.
All right. Before we go, Michele, tell our audience a little your thoughts and what you'd like for them to get out of the book, if you don't mind.
I think it's really important for people to see what we really go through. And I think if people knew how hard the detectives are that are working these cases, they would like the police a little bit more. And I think there might be a little bit more respect for police officers. This is great because it's a woman's point of view. People always ask me about the whole, woman viewpoint. And I think I have it in here. And I always tell people that no one gets assigned to homicide. You have to really want it. And I think the story, which is basically my whole life, will tell why I wanted it and how it was when I was actually working the cases. So Amazon, Model Detective.
Great work. Pick it up, please. Chris, roll us out.
Yep. Keep an eye out for us. We got some great stuff coming up this year.
That's all we got for today. Thank you, Michele, Marco. Thank you very much for coming in. We really appreciate it. It's been great. Check us out. We're on Instagram. We're on all that stuff. It's all Detective Story Mike. The Patreon thing is a big deal for us now. And like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. So thank you. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other.